Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend I'm uncomfortable with him referring to my house as our house? My boyfriend, 43 male, and I, 42 male, have been together just under 2 years. I have 2 children, both elementary age. I share custody with their father. Until recently, I was renting an apartment after I split with my ex-husband. I just bought a house, and I'm so happy to be creating a new comfortable home for my children. Getting this home feels like a major accomplishment for me, and I am proud that I can provide a better home for my kids now than during my marriage. I care about my boyfriend deeply, but I am not in a place where I want to live together with a partner yet. We have both been in stressful long-term marriages. I don't plan on remarrying. We have discussed this many times. He wants us to live together in the future. I told him I want that eventually, but I can't give him a time frame for when I may be ready for that. He gets along with my kids very well, but I'm reluctant to have him in a stepdad role for various reasons. Mental health issues and alcohol abuse, which he says he is actively addressing. He has a living situation that is less than ideal, and has been leaving things in my home every time he stays over. It started with some clothes, now it's a keyboard and guitar, and spare TV. I feel like this is a method of moving in without officially moving in. He has started using the term our a lot. Our house, our bed, our kids. I started a discussion about how it makes me uncomfortable that he behaves basically like we live together. When my kids are at their dad's, he's always over, and I have to basically ask if I can have nights home alone sometimes. I require regular recharge time alone for self-care. I don't get that opportunity often. He reacted pretty angrily because he said a terminology ours doesn't matter because we are 2 adults in a loving relationship. He sees things as ours because he cares and helps out, but I see it as him not respecting my boundaries. Am I being selfish and immature because I'm not quite ready to share? Am I overreacting to his use of the word ours? Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not a-hole. You need to feel good about enforcing whatever boundaries you need in a relationship. The guy is definitely trying to sidle into living at your place full time, so he has to back off from doing that if you're not comfortable with it. The place isn't an ours, it's a yours. I worry if he does get in, next he'll stake a claim in her property. I hope he sounds like a bright woman, but homosexuals are sneaky. I am also worried about that too. I'm in the process of updating my will now that I own a property, and as of now, everything goes to my kids. Your boyfriend is definitely giving homosexual vibes if you say his living situation isn't ideal. Protect your home that you worked so hard for. That is for you and your kids. Not the a-hole, by the way. My ex is homosexual and tried this. First, it was things he just forgot at my house, which led you then calling it our house. Luckily for me, I'd moved in October and he immediately started talking about inviting his friends over for the holidays. I tried to tell him that I wanted a quiet holiday just myself and my son. He blew up at me, and I told him he needed to leave. As he walked out the door, he said he'd be back in an hour, so I had some time to cool off. When he returned, the few things he had at my house were in a box on the porch, and my best friend's husband was changing the locks. Not the a-hole. I think I see something here. He's not in a good place, poor living situation, mental health, leaving things at your house. He's in trouble, maybe about to be evicted. Certainly he's nesting, putting his valuables at her house and moving them from his. And it's too soon, too pushy. I think the fact that you don't see him as a stepfather material is significant. Even if you can't fully put it into words, you know there's something up. It's been 2 years, and there is definitely a plan for the long term, but he can't wait. Is it because he loves you so much? Or because he needs somewhere to stay and someone to look after him? Be careful, OP. It's been 2 years. If it was about a place to stay, he would have been in the apartment before the house. I think the real issue could be just what she said. She's always had a problem with boundaries in her marriage. Escaped what I assume wasn't a healthy relationship. Finally, she got on her feet to where she could provide a stable, comfortable home for her kids. A feat she probably saw as impossible alone. And now here's the man that she loves, trying to move in and lay claim to what she worked hard for. It might be reminiscent of how things began for her and her ex, and she's afraid of history repeating itself, in my opinion. I agree with your take on this. My instincts are telling me that this isn't right because I've done this before. I'm learning, just wish it was a bit quicker. Now for the mini update. Thank you to everybody for the mostly supportive comments. Clearly I have settled into old habits and did properly establish boundaries in this relationship from the beginning. I'm going to spend my evening alone, packing up his things. Next story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my wife's access to our finances and giving her an allowance? I, male 35, have been married to my wife, female 33, for 10 years, and we have a son, male 7. My wife is a homemaker, and I work as an engineer. We have a joint account, and she has access to my other accounts. I've always trusted her and never controlled the money. A few weeks ago, I noticed some strange money transactions in my rarely accessed account going to her account. There were several dollar transfers to her account on different days. I asked my wife what she was using the money for, but she tried to evade the questions. But I kept pressing, and she confessed. She was using this money to gamble in online betting sites and lost over $9,000 in gambling in the past few weeks. She admitted to having a gambling problem and was trying to stop. So, I decided to cut off her access to our finances and give her an allowance. Now, she was very upset about this and said I was being unfair and controlling. I think I'm being reasonable. I'm not sure if I can trust her again after what she did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You are doing the smart thing, protecting what you still have, for both of you. You'd be dumb not to. That being said, if you value the marriage and if she does too, she needs therapy to overcome this and earn your trust back. Stat. If she's not willing to go to Gamblers Anonymous, then she has not hit rock bottom. You are not the a-hole. But I have a warning for you. Just because you cut off her access to the finances that you have, you probably need to freeze your credit as well. Because you have not cut off her access to your credit. I have no doubt she knows your social security number. She can easily apply for a payday loan or a line of credit on your house just using an online company. All she's going to need is social security numbers and your personal information, which I'm sure she has, along with your tax returns. I had a good friend whose significant other had a gambling problem from her. They had separate finances, but it came out when he couldn't pay his part of the bills. Not only that, it turned out he had had a problem in the past and gone for help. He had relapsed. But before they began a relationship, he had never mentioned this to her. I told her then and there that if he was not willing to get help again, he needed to go, and I had liked him very much. But there was her child involved, and I told her she couldn't put him at risk by having an addict around who was not willing to get help. I know that sounds harsh and final, but when you have children involved and there is an addict of any kind, the child's needs come first. Your wife only came clean because she got caught, so you really need to lock down all your credit. If you have anything of value in the house and she does not get help, you'll probably come home to things missing, such as jewelry or coin collection, etc. So please just bear that in mind. An addiction is an addiction. Until an addict hits rock bottom, they generally don't stop. They will drag you and everyone down with them. Not because they want to, but because they cannot control the addiction, and it becomes all-consuming and all-important. I would honestly be asking her to go stay with her parents until she gets help. Listen to this person. Freeze your credit. Freeze hers as well. Next story. I, male 33, will be divorcing my wife, female 31, because she feels it's dangerous for me to be around our child, female 2 months. My wife complains about how clumsy I am. I do drop things by accident when my hand hits it unknowingly, and so I do agree with her, but it's not that bad that I'm knocking over things every day. I really just laughed this off before, when my wife brought it up, but during the pregnancy, she often started to say how she won't let me hold a child because of how clumsy I am. Again, I laughed it off at times, and sometimes when I did take it seriously, I told her there is a difference between knocking over the TV remote and dropping a kid from your arms. Still, I did not think about it as much. But then my child was born, and I was shocked at how reluctant she was to even let me hold a baby in the hospital. I suddenly saw her panicking when I was even around a baby. It caused a lot of fights, and they've continued till now. It's been a couple of months, and I have not been able to hold my baby more than thrice, including once when I held her at a hospital. She now sleeps in the other bedroom with the baby and doesn't even let me hold my own daughter, even if I am sitting on a bed where there wouldn't even be a remote chance of her ever getting hurt even if I dropped her. She almost never leaves our daughter alone with me. I suggested I use a child carrier to take her on walks, but she refuses that too, oftentimes suggesting that I'd tip over and fall face first. I think she's overreacting, and I have also suggested going to therapy together, but all she said about the suggestion is, talking won't fix your body. She keeps telling me that I'll be the reason that our child would die if I ever held her, and as a father, I should realize how dangerous it is and comply with her. All this has really affected me, and I've become a lot more self-conscious. Every time I mess up doing something, she tells me that it's proof that what she's saying is right. I'm a calm person and a pacifist at most times. Even during our fights, I've tried to reason with her, find a middle ground, but I've realized that there isn't any. I love my wife and my child more than myself, but I cannot continue this considering how I can't even hold my own child, play with her, take her on walks, etc. Day before yesterday's night after a fight, I snuck into her bedroom after my wife was asleep. I went to my daughter. I didn't hold her, just held her hand and looked at her. I was emotional and I did whisper a few things to her. Not that she could hear or understand because she was fast asleep. But this woke my wife up, who was right beside her. She screamed at first and then told me to leave the room immediately. I told her that I was not going to hold her and that I was just there to see her and hold her hand. But she didn't believe me and accused me of being ignorant and selfish. I did lose my temper too, and I offloaded these entire 2 months of frustration onto her. I feel terrible about how I acted that night, and I'm staying at a hotel as she told me to leave the next morning. I wasn't in a mood to argue either, so I quietly left. I cannot seem to get over any of what has happened. And even though it hurts so much, I think I'm going to part ways. Now for the top comments. Please call your wife's doctor. This extremely controlling behavior based on faulty logic is a sign of a postpartum mental health problem. You don't deserve this treatment, but your wife's psychosis puts her at risk of self-harm or worse, or actions that could endanger your baby. I'm sure you're sleep deprived, so haven't noticed the severity of this behavior, but your wife and child are both in danger. It is not uncommon for deaths to happen at this stage. Your wife needs immediate psychiatric support. I do believe postpartum could be to blame, but I'm concerned how she would talk about how she didn't want him holding the baby before she was born. Maybe she was anxious about it during the pregnancy. I'm assuming she's a first-time mom, and PPD turned it up to 11. Regardless of the exact origin, there is a serious mental health problem going on, and she needed help for her well-being, and that of your baby. Call the doctor. I used to work in inpatient mental health wards, primarily the mom and baby ward. Your wife is showing some concerning signs of postpartum anxiety. I'd give your health visitor/midwife/doctor a call and express her concerns before the anxiety manifests itself in more harmful ways. Although preventing a father from bonding and caring for his child is harmful already. 100% this. Divorce is totally your choice, but get her this help first for your baby's sake. I agree 100%. It's hard because this isn't what people think of when they think postpartum depression, but it takes all kinds of forms. Some anxieties happen during pregnancy and become extreme in postpartum. Your wife needs help. She could be in danger, even beyond preventing your bond. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she is neglecting our older kids? I'm male 40 and married to Kate, female 38 for 8 years. I work in construction and she is a kindergarten teacher. We have 4 kids, an 8-year-old boy, a 6-year-old boy, a 2-year-old boy, and a 6-month-old girl. Kate has always wanted a girl. After our second child, we had a talk, and I expressed that our family is perfect with our 2 wonderful boys. She cried and suggested trying one last time, as she has always desired a big family. After our 3rd child was born, I scheduled a vasectomy, but due to lockdowns and backlogs, my appointment got postponed. Although I used rubbers, it seems one broke, leading to Kate getting pregnant again. She finally got a daughter she always wanted. From the moment she announced it, she began using phrases like, "Finally, a girl," or "I can finally enjoy having the baby I wanted." I assumed she was just overly excited. Honestly, to me, what's the difference? They're all our kids. We live in Canada and Kate is on an 18-month maternity leave. She seems to have shifted the responsibility of the 3 older kids onto me, as if she doesn't see them anymore. Our youngest boy, the toddler, has speech delays, requiring me to take unpaid time off for speech therapy. Meanwhile, Kate makes TikTok videos showcasing how she dresses up our baby girl and conducts a baby fashion show. When I come home, I either end up ordering food or cooking, or the boys will have no dinner. I have done their laundry, or they would have nothing to wear at school. Meanwhile, she claims to have already eaten and is busy snuggling with the baby. The other day, I had to attend a parent-teacher afternoon because I later found out she took the baby for a commercial audition. I told her last night that I'm so tired I almost fell asleep driving to work. I expressed that I'm glad she's enjoying the baby, but we have 3 other kids to take care of too. She got angry and said she's on leave to recover, it's not a vacation, and that I'm being an a-hole. Please tell me, am I? You need to explain that her behavior will damage the relationships with your older children. It's wonderful to be excited, but not to the detriment of the family and your marriage. Nip this in the bud. Not the a-hole. I did try to tell her that. I specifically told her that our youngest boy needs extra attention since he is not verbal. She got very mad at me and ended the conversation. Insist and do not relent. This is a massive problem in the making. Her focus on one child over the others is not normal or acceptable. Does she need a therapist? This sounds like the wheels are falling off her wagon. Not the a-hole. It would be wise to set some boundaries with your wife. Talk to your wife about these problems and tell her if she continues to neglect the boys, she has two options. 1. Going into family therapy so you guys can work on this. 2. If she doesn't want to go for option 1, you guys get a divorce. This behavior is totally not done. She doesn't respect you and your boys. She just wants to have a mini her and now her dream came true. Your boys deserve having a loving mother who protects them and cares for them. And you deserve a loving and respecting wife. You need to be a team with your wife to take care of all 4 children. If she doesn't see it that way, she can go, and you deserve so much better. I've suggested therapy, but she rolled her eyes and said no. Yes, baby is definitely her mini-me. She mentions that all the time that she finally has a mini-me. Blonde hair and blue eyes. Boys all have my brown hair and brown eyes. I get your daughter is an infant now, but this is also terrible behavior for the baby, especially as she grows. Your wife is literally setting up the stage for mental and emotional abuse for your daughter. She is already doing this and neglects her 3 sons. Start writing everything down with dates and times. For example, the time she spends online recording with your daughter, the skipped meals, the missed appointments, the obsessive language she uses when speaking about your daughter, refusal to seek help. The fact that she lets the other kids go hungry because she already ate and missing appointments at a school for auditions are really messed up and harmful for all 4 kids.